Good morning, Edgar.
Thank you so much. Morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
We're speaking French this morning.
Githua.
So, Felaris is going to give you the quote.
Guten Morgen. I've brought in the German. I'm like, just mix it.
Guten
We're
Morgen.
one big world.
Bonjour.
You know, it is
Good.
good.
Yes.
So our quote for the day is courtesy of a man that was an American businessman, author, and humorist. His name is Arnold Glasso. And the quote is, "The problem with the future is that it keeps arriving before we are ready for it." The problem with the future is that it keeps arriving before we are ready for it. How does that speak to you?
Thanks. That's a good one. The problem with the future is that it keeps arriving.
Before we are ready for it.
Yeah, I think from my brief analysis, I think the future is unpredictable. And you can never really predict, you can never really prepare for everything that's out there in the future, whatever life throws at you. So you can do your best to prepare for most things, but life will always throw you a curveball. That's what I'm thinking. Life will always throw you a curveball, something that you're not fully prepared for. You may have a rough idea, but until the experience comes, you're really never prepared for what exactly life throws at you.
What it throws at you. I like that. And I was going to ask, do you think Africa has been preparing for the future that we live in now? Or are we still preparing for a future that is coming, failing to recognize that if we set plans those years back, then that is the future that we're living in with everything that is going on with the summit and stuff? Do you think Africa is prepared for the future?
Very good question. I think Africa is caught in between wanting to prepare for that future and sometimes the lack of the political will to execute what needs to make the continent prepared for that future. In other words, what I'm saying is that Africa knows where it needs to go. Africa has watched the mistakes Europe has made, the West has made, the Americas have made. But instead of learning from their lessons, we appear like we want to go into the same ditch. So for me, it's a lack of political will to execute for us to be prepared for that future. Because we can learn from their experiences. We can learn from the mistakes they have made. We can learn from where they got it right and where they missed it. But instead of now doing the right thing, that lack of political will is what is going to cost Africa in the long run.
Political will as a continent or political will among the 54?
Political, let's say, I don't know, let me just throw the entire African continent and its leadership under the bus.
Okay.
Political will of all countries, some appear to be better prepared, some appear to be trying to struggle and get out of this hole, all right, without naming any names, but we can see some progress of some countries over the past 10, 15 years, really trying to get their act together. But generally, just that lack of political will to make tough decisions and execute what needs to get done to move the continent forward. I think for me, that's where we are struggling with, so it's a question of leadership, and I think that with time, the African populace is going to rise up and get the right leadership to just try and drive this engine and move us forward.
Okay. I want to ask about this summit, for example, where France is coming and we are hyping it, it's a first outside of the Francophone countries and so on and so forth. And what Emmanuel Macron said yesterday, where he admitted his country's waning influence in West Africa, saying the situation has pushed Paris to strengthen ties with Anglophone nations like Kenya. At the start of the conference, he said the losses have helped France refocus on other parts of the continent. I have never considered Francophone Africa as a private preserve. This is what I said in my Ouagadougou speech, where he spoke in Ouagadougou. And he said, there's the will to say Africa is a whole. We are true Pan-Africanists. We believe Africa is a continent with much more to build. It's the youngest with an extraordinary demographic dividend. Is he being sincere or is he just being,
Yeah, I could give you the politically correct statement, right? Or I could tell you. So, this is a politician speaking. Granted, let's just agree, let's be honest, this is a politician speaking.
Yes.
France's winning influence in West Africa has pushed them, because they do not want to lose their foothold entirely on the African continent, to start reconsidering and thinking about the Anglophone and Lusophone parts of Africa as places where they could extend their influence. So yes, Pan-Africanist to the extent that right now there's a bit of pressure on the country and losing their influence in West Africa, and they're winning, and then also trying to compete with the US, China and Russia, in their inroads that they're making on the African continent. So I would say take what he has said with a pinch of salt, because ultimately, truth be told, France is here for its own interests. So it is up to Africa to try and leverage and try and take advantage of the fact that France now needs Africa more than Africa needs France on what we can get out of this. So just structuring all these agreements and deals and this relationship into pushing it towards more of a win-win situation, so that we do not appear like we're getting the short end of the stick.
But also, there's the other side of it. This is a big economy. The economy of France is bigger than the economy of Africa. Okay? Yeah. But this is a big boy who's coming sort of with one hand tied. Like he has got to play nice so that he can endear himself to the rest of Africa. He says that he no longer wants to view Africa as to be viewed as a private preserve where business leaders have contracts guaranteed simply because this is Francophone Africa. He's admitting that this is what has happened before. He says some believed France provided a form of insurance by making and unmaking governments. That era is gone. He's admitting the things that they were doing and saying, wait, times have changed. We can no longer do that. So basically, this is a big boy who is on his knee. Should we not just be stamping and punching harder?
I hear you. The tendency is, let's agree that our African culture and human nature, if you're well raised, you don't kick a man when he's down. You don't kick anyone when they are down. So
just strangle them.
Not really. I hear you. Well, you don't. So this time round, advice to Africa: let's extend a hand, lift up this giant who is on the floor, and see if we can trust one more time and see whether they'll keep their word. Ultimately, I'll tell African leaders is they are here for their own business, they are here for their own interests. That is what any nation state does. Countries pursue their own interests. It is how can we structure this agreement and this discussion and diplomacy around a win-win situation and have some type of guarantees that we are not going to get played, we will not get the short end of the stick. But yes, right now I could clearly say France needs Africa more than Africa needs France. We're in a place where France is in a catch-22 because if it loses the entire West Africa, and the rest of Africa has other big partners, China, the US, name everybody else, France doesn't want to lose out. So they are going to bend over backwards a little bit. So ultimately, we should not forget it is the same France that had for decades dominated West Africa. And if we do not structure our deals properly and our negotiations, we will find ourselves not in a similar situation. Maybe our eyes are a bit open, but we'll find ourselves at a disadvantage. So the key thing is keep our eyes open, walk into these boardroom deals with our eyes open.
It'll be a different kind of regret maybe because it's something
you had
to
the
look
chance
out
and
for.
you wasted it.
Exactly. There's directions have been talked a lot about a lot in the last maybe few years. Africa is facing forward, the world is facing south, when Kenya is neither facing east nor west. Just so many directions. A compass would be confused. But let's look inward. Kenya right now, with its relations globally, how are we facing? What to you is our diplomatic approach, and is it for our benefit, like in the long term, or is it more short-sighted and kind of convenient?
So you've asked a very deep, beautiful and very deep question. So this is what countries do, and I think maybe this is where Kenya is rotating towards. Kenya has chosen to be pragmatic. Pragmatic meaning we are going to be friends with whoever is going to give us what we're looking for. And that is usually the position I advise any government, any nation in the world to take. Do not be caught up in this thing of I am pro-West, I am pro-East. Whoever can give you what you're looking for at the best price, deal with that person. So that means have a very clear, it's a delicate balancing act, it's a very delicate diplomatic dance. Don't lose your old allies because you're making new friends. Make sure that everybody you're dealing with is giving you exactly what you're looking for, and you have something to leverage and guarantee that you're not going to get played, you're not going to get taken advantage of. So Kenya being pragmatic, I think that is the best place to be at right now. And it helps because you do not create enemies out there. Now, the other flip side of that coin is sometimes some of these big powers may misunderstand exactly what you're trying to do, because what Kenya is trying to do is survive in the international system. So the West could at times feel Kenya is going too east towards our enemies or our rivals, or the East could feel we can't trust Kenya because they are too pro-West. So every once in a while you'll catch that stray bullet. You'll always get that stray bullet. But for the Kenyan government, not to worry, maintain your old allies and create new friends, because the West can't give you everything you're looking for, and the East will not give you what you're looking for. So you need the best of both worlds to move forward as a country. So our foreign policy at this point should actually be that pragmatic. We should be, and as we teach, we say it is dynamic. Foreign policy should be dynamic, meaning it should be able to respond to the changes in the global system. For example, what do we do if 10 years from now we discover China is the world's superpower in all aspects of that definition? And you had probably distanced yourself from them.
Right.
So you find yourself in problems. So you always want to have to balance between your old allies and the new friends you're making.
New friends.
Don't antagonize anyone, and just pursue your national interest in a very clever, balanced way.
Hatutapasuka msamba.
That's the thing.
I hear you.
Left, right.
Kama fisi.
I hear you. So at any one given time, take a position, but take that position in such a way that you do not antagonize anyone. I think it's doable, and that's why it's called diplomacy. Remember, diplomats speak with both sides of the mouth. So you know how to balance that, and the job gets done.
I'm actually curious about antagonizing anyone. So if we look outward, being very pragmatic in our approach is actually working in our favor. But within the continent, how is Kenya positioned? Because, I mean, this sends a very big message to West Africa, the Francophone countries. Yesterday, we had a conversation about South Africa not being present for this, Africa's largest economy. Again, a very big message. And we also just have the Africa agenda. Where does this position Kenya? Because we are certainly not in everybody's good books.
Correct.
And do you want to hold on to that thought for just 1 second? We take a short break.
No problem.
And then answer that one. We'll be right back after this. Hashtag is Fixing the Nation and TV. Are we in everybody's good books? I don't know. Thank you, Jose Maria. That's a wonderful WhatsApp Nation video, and for the wonderful work you are doing. Your part in fixing the nation is simple. Umesema mimi, I'll fuata the law. As inconvenient as it may be to spend half the day in court to pay a 1,500 shilling fine, it is okay. That is really fixing the nation. Send your WhatsApp Nation video to 0769 590 762. That's 0769 590 762, and we'll be more than happy to share how you're fixing the nation or what you wish could be done to fix the nation.
Kabisa. Back in conversation with Dr. Edgar Githua, who is an international relations, diplomacy, security expert, talking about this conference that's happening in Nairobi. And we'll be crossing over there. As you can see on the side of your screen, several presidents are now arriving at the KICC. Of course, the host, President William Ruto, arrived first. So he's in the holding room, of course, the VIP room, welcoming all the heads of state as they come to the KICC. Then they're going to have the opening ceremony. Several presidents are here, Edgar. But our East African neighbors, apart from Burundi, who is current chair of African Union, where is South Sudan? Where is Uganda? Where is Tanzania? Where is Rwanda? Where is it?
Somalia,
is
Ethiopia.
Somalia? Is the DRC here?
Yeah.
Or are they arriving this morning, probably?
Okay, maybe some could arrive this morning, but I think what's happened right now, unfortunately, these calendars are fixed way in advance. President Museveni of Uganda is supposed to be inaugurated. His inauguration is either today, I think. Yeah, so I know for sure President Salva Kiir, South Sudan, went to that side. They are very good friends. And probably the other presidents could probably be thinking about either sending a representative to the summit and also wanting to honor or attend President Museveni's inauguration. So that could explain a bit of why some of them are not here. We may not see the actual head of state, but we could probably see maybe in the delegation, maybe a a high-ranking minister or maybe a vice president or deputy president was sent in.
Oh, actually, sorry, the Rwanda president is actually around.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in State House last night for the state banquet.
So he's here.
Yeah, so it's possible. So
Yes.
it's, I mean, and that's the way it goes. So you'll find maybe now for Rwanda, President Kagame has probably sent a representative to President Museveni's inauguration because
Yes.
you want to do both.
Yeah, you have to balance.
You want to balance, like I said. So I think that is what could be taking place, or that's what could be playing out.
On to just a question that I'd asked before the break was Kenya's position and how much have we antagonized the continent? We have West African countries here.
Yeah.
Were they coerced to be here? Were they forced to be here? Where does that leave Kenya? Do we have friends in the continent?
Correct. And you've asked a very nice question because, like I say, diplomacy and international relations is very complex. In fact, we say there's a term we use out there. We say we live in an environment that is VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. VUCA, VUCA environment. So your foreign policy at any one given time is trying to navigate this VUCA environment, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous environment. So you caught France, and West Africa are angry about France, and you end up making them your enemies. Some unintended consequences. So every action out there in diplomacy always has an unintended consequence. So advice, assuming West Africa is not happy with what Kenya is doing and why we've agreed to host this. Kenya, number one, is hosting this and pursuing this relationship for its own selfish end. Kenya is pursuing its national interest. And I do not fault Kenya at all. That's what nation states do. However, now, Kenya, knowing that it needs West Africa, or it has relationships with various West African countries, up to and including maybe those countries that have kicked out France or have strained relations with France, there's something called track 2 diplomacy. Quietly behind the curtain, as we said, upon you my tent, reach out to them, reassure them using our ambassadors and high commissioners that we are still okay, we are doing this for this. So you're always out there. Remember what I said, delicate balancing act. So you're keeping your allies, you're telling them we are still together. It's just that let's listen to what France is saying. Let's see if they are going to change. But you still maintain that African brotherhood. And hoping that they listen to us and see our point of view and agree to respect our sovereignty and our right as sovereign countries to make our own decisions. I think they should not read too much into it because, I mean, this is politics.
This is how it happens. But, you know, actually, let's be open here. The Francophone countries, apart from those 3 that have had coups, the others are here. Senegal is here.
Yes.
Cote d'Ivoire is
Cote
here.
d'Ivoire is here.
They are here. Do they really have beef with France?
So, good question, Marty. Very good question. So their presence here, the optics, the diplomatic optics are, we are okay. Whatever strained relations, whatever things could be happening, you know, behind the scenes, we may never get to know. But their presence here should tell us they are not, they are okay with it, and they are willing to just, you know, come and, be part of this and show that we are part of this agenda.
And they haven't kicked French envoys out of their countries.
Correct.
You know, if for example, like, you know, in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, where it's direct, this one, says it to men.
They cut They cut the
influential. But I'd like to think there's a lot of steps in between, perhaps being best of friends and kicking ambassadors out. You know, we're probably somewhere in the middle.
If you look at
They could be
Niger,
frenemies right now.
a lot of steps in Niger happen very fast. Get out.
It was an expedited
Step 1
process.
That was very quick. I like the way you've put it. There are stages. Even when relationships are deteriorating at the diplomatic level, there are still stages. There's like a mini Cold War going on. The biggest one is where now each of you recalls your embassies and you shut down the missions and all that. So if you have not yet reached there, it means there's always hope for that diplomatic relationship. So they could be frenemies. They could be we are lukewarm, okay? We are not besties like we used to be. But so there are those stages.
Okay, let's go into our relationship with Francophone Africa. What actually, what does it look like from a trade perspective, from just a diplomacy perspective as well, and even from a culture perspective, because you do feel the differences in our culture, not just languages, but then does that translate into anything else? And then how are we moving? Are we closer now than we were perhaps in the past, or not?
With French West Africa,
Yes,
so we've had very many relationships in that side of the world. We've opened diplomatic missions, embassies. Probably not the strongest, but we've had our issues with them. Remember our rivalry around, let's say, like even the AU chairperson, and of course they didn't vote for us, didn't vote for our candidate. And those things are bound to happen in the world of diplomacy. So I think Kenya and West Africa, we are okay. We are very strong friends with Nigeria, Ghana, our francophone friends in that part of the world. And I don't think we have had any major issues or fallout.
With Nigeria and Ghana?
That's what I'm saying.
The Anglophones.
Those are Anglophones, At least the fact that we have very strong relationships with Ghana and Nigeria, and remember Nigeria is a big boy in ECOWAS. That kind of protects our relationship that side to an extent. So we don't have a lot of issues with them other than when we have our rivalries, when you're voting for the AU chairperson, those kinds of things. I don't see any big fallout between Kenya and West Africa per se. And I don't think West Africa, given the wave that is currently sweeping in, the anti-French sentiment sweeping through that part of the continent, I don't see them feeling jealous that now Kenya is the blue-eyed, boy or favorite of the French. Because in any case, we could argue and say, you did not want them, you are kicking them out. So when we welcome them to our soil, you should feel
can't
nothing.
Fault us.
Yeah, you can't fault us. So I don't think that will play out too much. What I'll come back to is, what is Kenya getting out of all of this? And by Kenya hosting this, are we making sure that we are going to walk into all these negotiations with our eyes open, so that we do not find ourselves in the same place some of those West African countries found themselves. Because it's the same country, granted. It is still France.
Yes,
it is still.
It is still France. Trying to change, but now we need to give them the benefit of the doubt by seeing their actions.
We're expecting the Nairobi Declaration today. It's currently being written as we speak. What do you think is going to be in the Nairobi Declaration that is not supposed to be there, or what could be missed out on? And a second to that is, because this is going to feed into the G7 summit, is this summit being used to legitimize France's agenda about Africa at the G7 summit?
Correct. I like your thinking. So number one, the Nairobi Declaration is made today. France comes out, gets, for lack of a better word, bonga points out of marshalling or having a very strong partnership with 54 African countries. That elevates France's position diplomatically at the G7 and everything. Of course, France's agenda now, when now France sits with the other big peers, the other big boys at that level, it comes with this psychological edge. I have just landed this with Africa. I have this kind of support. So the optics around that play in France's favor. So whatever other agenda France might have at that G7 summit, it would say, I was in Africa the other day and this is what we agreed. This is what Africa wants. I am probably the new mouthpiece for what Africa wants, and hence I am the representative. So that is going to play out. So this global politics, all right, in as much as France is pursuing any other genuine diplomatic bilateral relations, it is also looking at its position in global power politics. How am I seen by the rest of the G7? What new weight do I have? What new impetus do I bring to the table?
Nairobi has a seat, Kenya has a seat at next month's G7 summit. And does then that make Kenya we've called ourselves the blue-eyed boy of the continent. Where does it leave us as the champion? I don't want to call us the prefect, but that advocate for the continent, the torchbearer for the continent on other matters, because we have really carved out that position for ourselves. And it's a good position to be in, because then you are demanding for a seat at the table. But can Kenya best represent its own interests and the interests of the continent that are very separate from the administration of the day? Because this administration, we're going to the elections next year, and maybe another administration comes in. Do we then, are we able to do this outside of the politics?
Beautiful question. So, whatever agreements are reached between Kenya and France right now, they will surpass the regime, or they will outlast the regime. Of course, it helps that when the principals have good chemistry and have good rapport with one another, all right? Because, I mean, somebody else could come in and France doesn't feel like it wants to deal with. So it helps that it has happened right now. Kenya Kenya putting itself forward as that voice for Africa is both a good thing and a tricky position to be at. Because now, anything that doesn't work and Kenya spearheaded or Kenya was at the forefront, you know what happens with number ones. It is easier to be number one. It is always hard to remain number one. So if things are not working out, all the other countries will silently point fingers and say, but Kenya, you're the ones who spearheaded this. You're the ones who went out on a limb and sold us this, this whole thing. So it is both good and a bad thing. I think diplomatically it raises Kenya's profile, so it continues to make us stronger. Remember, in diplomacy, one of the biggest currencies you have is soft power, your leverage, your influence, your ability to talk to other countries. And when people feel like, let me deal with Kenya, because Kenya is a favorite of the US, Kenya is a favorite of France, Kenya is a favorite of China. So that elevates you. I mean, the connections, your what's that saying again?
Your network is your net worth.
Exactly. Your network is your net worth. Exactly. That's the one I was looking for. So our net worth, represented by the big countries we have relations with, elevates us. It is about now using that soft power and diplomatically packaging it to enable Kenya advance and pursue its interests and get doors opened where there were roadblocks before. So it is a good thing.
Okay.
But it needs to be managed with a lot of wisdom, and we shouldn't be reckless about that, newfound power that we find ourselves possessing.
Let me ask a question from the Kikombe on YouTube. He says, Logic More, Africans judge outcomes by infrastructure, jobs, manufacturing, and cost of living. Worry around the chamber is that summits are full of declarations with little follow-through, we or no. Is it by design that summits often are all about declarations with little follow-through? What's the point?
I mean, unfortunately, and I'll use a very bad example trying to explain that. It's like political campaigns. These political leaders who come and give out all these plethora of promises and are only able to fulfill, let's say, a quarter of what they promised. The same thing. Some of these negotiations sound very nice on paper, but the implementation, the decision-making process around that implementation, when the rubber meets the road and people start discovering some unhidden thing they had not foreseen before, the bureaucracy of global politics steps in, such that you find, we thought this could be done, but now, taking all things in consideration, we are not able to get it done. And nobody ever comes to apologize to say that, we're sorry, in that declaration we said this, it hasn't been done. It is quietly swept under the carpet. Life moves on. Okay, c'est la vie, they say, and life goes on. So it is a bit about that. There are some that are very practical. There are some that are futuristic and realistic. And there are some that are said in the heat of the moment. Unfortunately, for me, that's what I usually get disappoints me. Some are said in the heat of the moment, but then when the actualization, when the rubber meets the road, they discover, oh my God, we can't fulfill this the way we thought we would fulfill it, or at the speed we thought we would fulfill it. So
you meet the obstacles. There's that.
They do roadside declarations, pia.
Maybe people may meet and just get excited and come out. It may not be exactly in the wording of the declaration, but what has come out in conversations may send a certain signal. Maybe it's how we take the signal. Maybe it's the audience that's a problem.
Wow.
You know that phrase?
We all can't be wrong.
That phrase of campaigning in poetry and governing in prose. You campaign in poetry, exactly. Come to govern now. That's where it's actually translating those words. Why I'm saying maybe it's the expectation. You expect that a declaration would start being implemented immediately and that you will feel the implementation immediately. That's not real.
It's not real.
The reality is that when you're coming to implement some things, you have to start by doing several number of things here and there before you start. see the shiny thing in the
Yes.
room.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know those steps, Mariam, that you talked about? Maybe that's the issue.
That's it.
Sisi tunataka immediately. Nikiweka Biblia chini.
Hivi.
Things change.
Manifesto ikwe
Yeah.
implemented.
And that's why you see, for example, let's say like for presidents, the first 100 days, there's a mile marker. There's usually people want to find out after 100 days, how effective are you?
Yes.
What are you really doing? So
Probation imeisha.
yeah, sometimes, and some of these declarations translate into treaties. Now, when we touch treaties, we have entered into a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
Because remember, all countries are sovereign. Those treaties have to be domesticated. Their parliaments have to go through them, the public participation. And for some countries, you'll find something was declared or something was suggested like 20 years ago. Some countries are still not on board
Yes.
because of their own domestic politics
Correct.
and the ratification of some of those treaties. So it is always idealistic to want to have a better world, but the reality is, before you make that world as rosy and shiny as you're putting it, it's not usually as easy as is said.
It is so wonderful that Umingeyo, because that tangent I want to explore. Declarations, treaties, conventions. Kenya is a party is a signatory to the Geneva Convention, but is a party to the whatever treaty. But there's the Nairobi Declaration. Explain it to. What are these things? What do they mean?
Well, it's a complex lesson, but to try and simplify it. So you sign, let's say it's the UN, it passes a resolution, and countries are supposed to assent to it, they vote and accept it, and then now there's a treaty that comes out of it, and then countries now start domesticating and assenting to it. That process of domesticating is first now the country picks it. Yes, our ambassador at the UN voted very quietly, very nicely, enthusiastically. It's brought back. Now the Kenya's parliament starts getting involved, debating each clause. Is it good for us? Any other processes? I'm not an expert in domestic law and all that, but public participation around it. What does the country feel? And of course, our parliament represents our people. So until certain things go through the channels where parliament agrees, then your country may have agreed there out in the public, but your parliament, maybe it is hung or politics have crept in. You find something is just gathering dust on the shelf. So it's a complicated process. It's a complicated process, but it takes for some it takes years. For some nothing ever happens overnight. Yeah.
Is this why it's so hard then on international platforms to hold people to account, to treaties they're party to, conventions they have signed, things like that, because they're not domesticated?
Not necessarily. Countries sometimes even sign and agree to particular treaties. But here is a catch. All sovereign countries of the world ultimately follow international law when it is convenient for them to do it. You will find countries that know it is wrong to violating human rights because it was expedient and convenient for them to do it. So signing does not mean
The call is coming from inside the house, Edgar.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That call is coming from inside the house.
Inside the house.
It's inside the house. Go on.
So it doesn't mean that because a country is a party to a treaty and it agrees to something that it will be bound by it. You'll find even issues to do with the ICC or many other things. Countries still violate some of those things.
Yeah.
Countries violate each other's sovereignty. They know it's wrong to go to war, aggressively attack your neighbor, but they still violate it. Why? Because when it is expedient for a country to break international law to pursue its interests, it does it, knowing there is no global policeman to come and catch me, and I will politicize my way out of this thing.
Right.
Sanctions or no sanctions, and that's just the world that we live in.
And
where
one
the
can hold
powerful
you to
control
it.
the world. Exactly.
Life is like that.
Life is like that, unfortunately.
President William Ruto last night hosted a state banquet for the visiting heads of state and government. And there's a photo on his Twitter handle.
Yes.
You'll find that seated to the left of Emmanuel Macron is President Kagame of Rwanda. Now, there have been some issues between Rwanda and France
Okay.
recently.
Rwanda. Okay.
HRH Makanda is asking, what's your view on Kagame attending the summit, given the publicized fallout between Rwanda and France? Is it a rapprochement?
Yeah.
Is that Macron's biggest win for this summit? That he actually got to have Kagame sit right there, maybe as we were discussing over, like,
But
exactly. No hard feelings.
No,
correct.
perceived.
So once again, optics, like I tell you. So yes, you've had your public fallout, but it doesn't mean that Rwanda and France are enemies. We could have our disagreements. We can agree to disagree. We are sovereign states. And this is an opportunity for now, when they meet face to face, they could have an aside into a breakout room somewhere. They sit down and now, face to face, just have that candid conversation. Where are we not getting it? Ama just begin the conversation and let now their ministers and governments now iron out the differences. So yeah, this is a good opportunity for some people to come and make up. Okay, they were frenemies, now we want to become BFFs. So yeah, those things, the fact that he was given that position shows, and those sitting arrangements are not random. They are by design. Yeah, you don't want to put people who have been at loggerheads and who are, have bad blood next to each other. You try and distance. I mean, these things play out at that level. So this
Even
could be
at family level.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. If you've just quarreled with your sister or your brother, you want them to be a little bit further than you.
Yeah.
So this is just so those sitting arrangements are based on protocol and of course on the needs of that day, the optics that need to be conveyed. So that could have been a request from France directly that could you kindly allow the Rwandan president to sit next to me so that we have a tete-a-tete as we're having these sort we mend fences. All those things are by design.
Let's always mend fences of our meal.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we say in
Let's
Africa.
have dinner.
Yeah.
However mad you think you are, just eat first and then we see
Then we can always have a
you
discussion.
feel.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Tukule nyama Nairobi.
Tukule kwanza.
Tukule nyama Nairobi.
That's their version of
Tukule nyama.
the same way you say, tell a friend, come to kule nyama.
Yeah.
That's what they tell each other.
Yeah.
Twende Nairobi.
Yeah,
we
let's
have
break
to-
bread.
Tukule
The
nyama.
moment you say
Tukule
let's break
nyama.
bread,
Yeah.
all things should be, at least everything should be at least
There's
on the table.
levels.
I mean, I wish breaking bread was a way of just bringing peace. Now, one of the things that we can expect even as we go into the next hour is the security and peace conversation. Now, the president of Chad is around. He'll be chairing that particular session on matters security and peace in the continent.
Yeah.
Now, we have DRC, we have Rwanda, 6 months into, the peace accords that were signed. Guess what?
Yeah.
No peace.
Correct.
We have Sudan and what is happening.
Yeah.
And what are some of the outcomes we can expect from those conversations? Because we need to move from a place of saying checky, we need to shake hands, but also watu kwa ground lazima waache kupigana. But the biggest one being the situation in Sudan.
So number one, you can expect France to voice and say, we're willing to lend a hand. Our presence, our training, maybe not so much the troops, but our training and technical support in some of these trouble spot areas. So France can be at the table in trying to say, look here, we sit in the Security Council, we can forward this agenda. If, for example, the world has forgotten some of these small conflicts that are in this part of the world, as France, we can, be the voice in the Security Council towards bringing peace. So you can expect those conversations to once again come up with these declarations that I can clearly see we do not want to keep on talking about. But now, with France as a big brother saying, I am going to guarantee the peace. What happens with peace agreements? Any agreements reached at that level, if you do not have a strong backer, a guarantor, to try and enforce and bring both sides, keep everybody to their side of the bargain, those peace agreements collapse. So France could offer its good officer and say, you know what, if we broker peace in this part of the world, I am willing to be one of the guarantors. And that means I will bring my sticks and carrots to the table. So if anybody is not keeping their side of the bargain, there'll be sanctions or consequences to pay. I see France playing that role and taking advantage in this sense because, they are a powerful military. They're in the top 10 most powerful militaries in the world. The technical support, they have experience, they've had troops who have experience on the continent. So France could play that big brother role in trying to give guarantees to some of the security and peace agreements. And also lending technical support, aid. Do you need training for your troops? Do you need weapons? It's also an opportunity for them to make money. Okay, they'll sell their weapons as well.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, let's not discount that. Yeah.
Well, the thought there. We'll come back in just a minute and discuss some of the questions and the feedback coming back on YouTube. But we are with Dr. Edgar Githua. He's an international relations, diplomacy and security analyst. We'll be right back after this. Hashtag remains Fixing the Nation NTV.
We're safe. Okay. So there are very many people here, Edgar, who feel bado. no, but why is Kenya, engaging with France, and France is has bad issues with some parts of Africa?
Yeah, granted, and those concerns are real, because the deterioration with West Africa, France's relationship and the deterioration with West Africa was largely because of the new colonial stance it took after those countries got their independence. Really having a very big hold over their economies, quote unquote. I don't know that some of you have heard how part of their reserves were kept in France, in France's central bank and all that. So this time around, as Kenya walks into this relationship, we walk in with our eyes open, knowing that this new partner we are engaging deeply at a deeper level, has issues with West Africa based on ABCD. So we just, you can't demonize them. Maybe they have turned over a new leaf, so let's give them a chance. Let's see what they're up to. But we walk inside this relationship with our eyes open. What's not working for us, we quickly raise our voices and say this is not working, and we have the guts to break off. I'm sure all these agreements have exit clauses, for sure, as all international agreements and business agreements have. So there'll be exit clauses where we feel we are getting the short end of the stick. We should have the guts to walk away and say, this is not working for us. And, and we're not going to be party of this. The problem is if we decide that we don't want to look like we lost, like we were too forward, like we did not think this through, and then we stick and suffer silently and quietly. So we should just have the guts to say this is not working for us, this we can go on, this is not working for us, and we're going to walk away. So those misgivings will always be there. And again, you can't advance in the world of international relations by being a pacifist, by just being very laid back and being afraid of trying again. Maybe this could just be a revamped France, a new France, who are willing to deal with us on better terms and conditions. And then we benefit from this. We benefit from the fallout that they are going through with West Africa.
Or it could be an opportunity to actually shape and re-educate this bully.
Exactly.
Like I said, the bully is now down. The bully is on his knees. And the bully wants to rise up, and he wants our hand to help him rise up.
Correct.
So we come up with the conditions ourselves. And so, okay, so this is it. For you to stand up, first of all, you shall acknowledge the reason why you're down. And number two, this is how we shall deal going forward. But you can't say at, I can't touch. Let them go, first of all, make peace. So why do we deal with Britain here?
Exactly.
Kenyans have taken the British government to court over the atrocities that are committed to Kenyan citizens.
Correct.
And yet we give a state function, a state invitation to the king.
Exactly. You see, that's diplomacy. That's international relations. So there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. Your friend today could be your enemy tomorrow. It's all about interests. What are your shared common interests? What are you pursuing? What do you want to get from someone? So, and that's why we come back to be pragmatic enough to know I need this from this person, and I am going to approach them this way. When it fulfills and suits my agenda, I am going to engage with them. When I realize they are tilting the relationship or it's not working for me, I also need to be brave enough to say this is not working, and you take a step back.
Okay.
So walk with your eyes open.
Let me ask a money question. When this is like, Kenya-France summit, and it's Africa Forward summit, and it's being done, Kenya and France, who's footing the bill?
Good question. Definitely, this thing was planned way in advance, so I'm sure they are joint things. So Kenya agrees to give the host, as the host, in kind donates KICC, but I'm sure behind the scenes, they're both footing the bill, because for us, there's what diplomatic, the bonga points we're getting in the world of diplomacy. So we have to, that comes at a cost. So there's a bill Kenya is footing, and there's a bill I'm sure also France is footing, and so that we can jointly, take advantage of the diplomatic goodwill that is coming out of all of this. So I think it is a shared thing. It can't be a burden that is just left to one country, because it's a huge bill.
It's co-hosting, so obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Both of them have to. But then, is there a possibility that kuna watu wametumiwa fare? to be here.
I get what you're saying. Remember the conversation we were having offline before? That especially if someone wasn't really looking like they're very keen on coming, the incentive would have been, we will take care of your delegation and 5 members. Yes. So we will take care of your delegation and 5 members. That's a small bill to pay. So there's that possibility as well. Some special invited guests who you feel their presence will give this conference more, impetus and give it, a bigger, how should I put it, more visibility. Those ones you pay for. The superstars you pay for, definitely.
So because it's in your best interest that the summit is attended.
Correct.
And that big hitters attend that summit.
Exactly.
So you've got to work extra hard. Maybe you may not have to give anything to Egypt to have President Al-Sisi come. That's a big thing. But that's because Macron was in Egypt and then telling Al-Sisi to try Nairobi.
Remember,
coming is a big thing. But also looking at, so regionally, having the AU president Burundi coming, and then the are wondering, Sasa, where am I going?
Where am I going to
this country? Do this, wafanya hivi, wacha nikutumie basi.
You remember there's that guy from, was it Madagascar? The guy who was picked.
Yep.
I hear I don't know that he paid for it or not, but he was picked. And the guy came into power through a revolution of some sort, right? The Gen Z revolution. I mean, so such people.
Mr. DJ.
So this summit presents 2 opportunities. There are African leaders who foot their own bill to come here to sanitize themselves, right? And then there are those ones who you really want to come there so that they can sanitize the conference. We have those 2 different types of guests, remember. There are those ones who will do anything to be there, to be seen, photo ops.
Yes.
I even sat next to him, I shook his hand to sanitize their image and to pass an image about our relationship with France. There are those leaders who have come to this summit. And then there are those who are like, beg me to come. What are you putting on the table for me to come?
On the flip side, is there anyone paying to be here?
In terms, definitely the delegates.
No, yes. Go on. Yes.
As I was saying, some of the delegates, business partners. Remember, this is a networking event as well. When you bring in all these African, entrepreneurs and all these big business leaders, it's an opportunity for business. So there are people who are paying. There are delegates who are paying because of that networking opportunity. But then, of course, there are those freeloaders who have just come because it is here and they are needed and they need to be there. But there's quite a number of people definitely who have paid. Like the business class, for me, I see a lot of those ones paying and premium at that. To be here so that they can be able to leverage on the networking opportunities that will come out of this.
What next? I mean, Africa Forward Summit with the French, done. We've had similar summits with a focus on Africa. It's like done, yes. Actually, he needs to trademark that.
Yes.
But we've seen other countries call African countries to go to them. China has hosted us. Russia has hosted us. Turkey. The US. Do we see more of these where it's brought to the continent for the continent to be in attendance on home soil instead of us going to them? They come here. France has set a precedence, and it's a very good precedence. Do we see this in the trajectory we're following?
Your thinking is gold. That is going to be the trend now. France has just opened a new door and shown the big boys this is how it's going to be done. So expect now China to organize their next one. Probably not in Kenya, though Kenya is one of the better places. So try and look at, I usually divide the map of Africa into 4. I say, who is the big boy in North Africa? Maybe Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, it's somewhere there.
Morocco.
South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya. So maybe China decides we'll do it in South Africa. That is going to be the new model. So Africa has reached a stage whereby now you come to us. Don't summon us and we all come to you. So yes, France has opened that door, and that was very forward thinking of them. That has given them bonga points that nobody else is going to beat them at.
I mean, that's what they've called it, Africa Forward.
Africa Forward.
Summit.
Exactly. This is the way we're going to be
the way we go. Actually, the door was opened by Japan a couple of years ago when TICAD was held in Kenya. The Africa-Japan summit happened here in Kenya. So Japan, because Japan has actually been having these meetings with African leaders for a long time. When they hosted the ticket here, it was, a big indicator. Let's wait for the next one with China and Russia. Presidents continue arriving at the KICC. Emmanuel Macron has arrived, and we're seeing more and more of them arriving. When they all go in, then they will sit in the main hall for the opening ceremony, and when they do that, we shall cross over to the KICC for the ceremony, for the speeches, and so on and so forth. So we continue this conversation. The thing is, again, what I still want to dig deeper into the what next. What should we expect? Should we temper our expectations from expecting, okay, so now the next thing we're going to see is a new French company that has come and opened in Kenya, a new French factory that has opened in Kenya. We have very many French companies that are already investing and operating in this country. So what tangible thing or visible thing are we likely to see?
So divide it into short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals from all those 11 agreements. For me, some of them were immediate, like the commuter rail. All right, it's even small. I'm not saying the money involved is small, but given the list of the agreements, sounds like it was one of the smaller ones, 12.5 billion. So that commuter rail, very easily, like you've said, the French company comes, or whoever gets the tender, most likely a French company. That we can expect to see a turnaround time within a short period of time. Like revamping KPA, that's a long term. In fact, it outlives the regime. Okay, so the regime could probably, if the president gets re-elected next year, then the regime gets to oversee that. Whoever comes in next year, that is going to be a long-term thing if it is inked and it is done well. So there will be mid-term, in my view, there will be short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Some are going to be long-term. Like some we will never even get to see, like the security sector, training our forces, collaboration, buying weapons. We may never get to see that. Only the people in the disciplined forces will understand this has really taken place. But for the public, collaborations on technology, those should be immediate.
The university.
The university thing at Science Complex, we should see groundbreaking on that. The commuter rail, that's a low-hanging fruit for me. And
I think that's not a low-hanging fruit. I'm going to give you an example. Uhuru Kenyatta goes to France for an Africa-France summit, and they agree that a French company will come and do Mau Summit Road.
Exactly.
Low-hanging it was,
It was cancelled because the regime changed power.
That's also a possibility.
It is a possibility. It is a possibility, and that's why. But if the terms are good, if the deal is good and the terms are good, assuming a
due process is followed,
a new regime could come in and a new leader comes in and says, "This thing looks good. There is value for our money. It's looking like it's doable. Let status quo remain." Or they could come in and, like you've said, politics takes place and someone decides, no, I don't want this. The project remains, but I'm handing it to a new entity altogether. So those are possibilities. Those exist. So a low-hanging fruit for me, like I was saying, is that commuter rail thing, because I mean, from the wording and from the language, it's like it is something that is going to begin, because they've already been talking about it for long. It's like we're going to, and there's part of the infrastructure already in place. That is something that I could see happening within the next maybe 1 year, give or take. So short-term, mid-term, long-term goals.
I think it still goes back to the question that whatever we had discussed earlier, all of these agreements being reached, and then there's the politics of the day and the administration of the day.
Correct.
How then can we be we need to be forward thinking. We need to prepare for a future that separates the two. That can be able to handle such agreements while still, the politics can run no problem. Tomorrow we get President Eric who can come in and say, you know what, these agreements, actually, we need to make sure that we've fulfilled, we've signed our MOUs, our contracts, and we keep moving. Because then the cost of not implementing or backtracking goes to the taxpayer. We've seen it with, again, the Mau Summit Road. To the tune of 7 billion shillings that Kenyans have lost. So where do the experts come in to advise the government of the day and the policy makers that we really need to get to a place as a continent, as a people, where we separate the two?
I think it's political goodwill, if you ask me. Because this is black and white. This is an ironclad agreement. Do we even know there are consequences if we renege or this breach of contract? But somehow, someone still decides it's okay to breach the contract. So I think it's just political will and saying some things we just need to follow through. And that will now separate us from, it will make us forward-looking. People, even investors, people will feel like, I can trust that country that if we get into an agreement with them, they will hold their end of the bargain. So I think it's political will around the politics and the political will around that, such that we realize, regardless of whatever regime came into power, if this is benefiting the Kenyan taxpayer and is going to be a cost to the Kenyan taxpayer, I will not subject. the Kenyan taxpayer to this kind of loss. And we go forward with it and we do it. And I know most likely those companies are going to do if we will hold them to standards, if they do not do a good job, they will also, there's litigation around that, I'm sure. So political will for me. Political will and Kenya having something we say, and African countries having something we call like a grand strategy.
Okay.
A 50-year plan of where we need to be, such that regardless of the president who comes into power, we all build on a particular strategy, a vision where we want Kenya to go to.
Oh, you mean like Vision 2030?
Like Vision 2030. Assuming all the presidents from the time it was mooted came and said, my manifesto and my agenda is going to fit into this Vision 2030. Kenya would be progressively moving forward. But now if people come and keep shifting and changing goalposts here, right, left and center, then it becomes hard to realize that vision.
Quick question from Bakari Sagna on the diplomacy side. How should
now that we are in French territory, it's Sanya.
Oh, Sanya.
Okay.
From Bakari Sanya. How should we interpret the DRC President Tshisekedi's summit no-show alongside the US government's rebuke of former President Laurent Kabila, who is being accommodated in Nairobi over the conflict in the eastern DRC?
So DRC is not coming, no surprise there. All right, there's bad blood between the two nation states, and this is just a protest. I'm not gonna come. You do you.
Fanyeni vile mnafanya. Do your thing.
So that now tells you their relationship is on the deathbed. It needs to be salvaged one way or another. So
if you're hosting, he was last spotted here in last year actually.
And that's Joseph. Laurent, his father died.
Yes, Laurent. Yes, that's Joseph Kabila. Sorry, my bad. Yes, true. But he was spotted, I think, sometime last year in Nairobi.
Joseph.
Yes, Joseph, not Laurent. That's very recent as far as maybe diplomatic wounds go. I don't know.
So DRC's protest is towards Kenya for Joseph and against France for their deteriorating relationship. And in diplomacy, some of the biggest things you read are body language. We're talking about body language. Read people's body language. Read what they are saying, what they do, not what they're telling you with their mouths. Their actions speak louder. So DRC boycotting is, for me, not a surprise because of their strained relationship. And it will always be that way. There'll always be someone who will not attend someone's party because an ex is there or blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying? It happens. Nation states, by character, like human beings. The same feelings we have as human beings. That's how nation states project.
Ulenda wedding in a knee.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly.
Catch me there.
Exactly. You're not going to show up at your ex. At the exes.
Akuniambia ati ana date. Wacha hata kuni-invite.
Definitely.
6 years wamejuana.
Exactly. Those feelings. So nation states have those feelings as well. So DRC is passing a message, a quick message to France,
Speaking of that, actually, that part between DRC and Rwanda is ongoing, and it is very vocal at head of state level, where Kagame comes in and even says, that guy was there. Do you know even how that guy became president?
That was a low blow.
It's personal.
He was a taxi driver.
Do you even know how this guy became president?
Exactly.
Where is his heading?
Owezianza started from the bottom.
No, I think that goes to show you that all these leaders, no matter how high a pedestal we put them at, they're human. All right. So that was a low blow. Saying he was a pizza delivery guy was neither here nor there, right? He's president right now. Okay. So that was a low blow. And all these leaders have had their low moments, okay? Starting, from whichever country. So I think the DRC issue is very complicated because it's an identity issue. It is an Eastern DRC issue. Rwanda accused it's supporting M23 and Rwanda saying the DRC government is supporting the FDLR rebels. And that is it's a very complicated thing. It goes into identity politics. It goes into, for some of us who are trying to be escapist, we blame the colonialists. You're the ones who put these borders and divided communities. But ultimately, it can be solved if the DRC government decides, number one, to recognize Eastern DRC residents as Congolese, not as Rwandese, as Congolese. Because that's where the problem comes in. Kinshasa says most of the people in Eastern DRC should go back to Rwanda. But they were born in Congo. That's where the problem. So Kagame tells you these are not Rwandese citizens. They may be speaking Kinyarwanda. We may have cultural ties, but these are not our citizens. So for me, my analysis from a conflict perspective is if Kinshasa agrees to recognize that Eastern Congo, those are Congolese citizens, it will have an internal conversation first on how to treat them better as citizens. And eventually that will lead to fewer rebel groups coming up to fight for the rights of their citizens in that part of the country. I think for me that's the direction to take. I know Kinshasa, I've said this in other platforms and I was blasted from here to Timbuktu. But that is where the problem lies.
So
why would Kinshasa not acknowledge them?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Because for the largest part, due to the conflict in Rwanda, 1994, a huge part of the population ran into that part.
Yep.
Granted, that occurred.
Yep.
But kids were born. They stayed there. Kids were born and lives. People can naturalize. One of the ways you can get citizenship is through naturalization. So Kinshasa telling these people to go back, and some of them were even born there, is a bit unfair. Why not sit down with them and just find out how you can incorporate them and make them feel as DRC citizens, and they will stop raising these small militia groups to protect themselves. So that for me is where the starting point is.
But there's one angle there.
Yeah.
That this is one tribe of the Rwandese speaking people who are here. There's another tribe of the Rwandese speaking people who are also still part of this country.
Yeah.
Now they are either, the accusation is either they're being supported by Kinshasa or they're being supported by Bujumbura.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even Bujumbura, Burundi is also being accused of working with Kinshasa to support the FDLR because this is a different tribe.
Yeah.
And then Kagame is accused of supporting the
M23.
the M23 because they are his tribe. This is...
It's complex. Remember, there are Tutsis, Hutus in Rwanda and Burundi.
Yes.
And Twa. There's another small group called Twa.
Yeah.
So Hutu, Tutsi, Twa in both Burundi and Rwanda. Part of all these are also in eastern part of DRC.
Yeah.
So it's like Kenyan Maasai, Tanzanian Maasai. So they have had their historical roots and identity and all that. And so when you're trying to solve that problem, beginning to understand that you cannot demonize people because of the language they speak. Yeah. So that is where it becomes complicated. And that is why untangling them will be a work of art. Exactly.
How far, because we have these two processes going on. The Nairobi process led by Uhuru Kenyatta, and then there's the Luanda process. And then there's now the Trump process.
Then the Trump process.
These three, are they together?
So at some point they want to converge, then they have their own differences. But the Luanda and Nairobi process at least have been trying to harmonize so that they don't work at cross purposes. Now what appears to have superseded them now is this Trump process. And people thought, my view was that when America stepped into this conflict, their big stick, their big influence would kind of, force them apart and
be the guarantor.
Exactly, be the guarantor of the peace agreement, which they've promised to be, hoping to get things done. But like we said, agreements are signed with a lot of fanfare and flair. The implementation process, the behind-the-scenes implementation process is clause after clause, and every clause has its sticking points, its challenges. So you find what was supposed to the world expecting that overnight the guns will be silent. You find there's some sticking points that are still not working. Remember, M23 lost one of the influential leaders, so that makes them retreat from the table, to go and regather themselves, regroup. So a lot of complications arise in some of these processes.
And just been informed that President Tshisekedi actually did not boycott. He is in the country in attendance of the summit. So we can definitely expect some outcomes now that we have all of these parties in the House, matters, peace, security, and what all of these accords, well, the Washington Accord, the Luanda process, there are many. Where's the implementation? Do we need a prefect as a continent? That's always been, again, the other question. Do we need someone to lord over us and tell us what to do and tell us, if you walk that line, nitakupanish, because Trump has come in as a said prefect. We have Qatar that sat these parties down and said, guys, let's talk. Does Africa need a prefect?
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I've just realized the heads of state who are not in the country yesterday, we kind of assumed no shows.
Also, they're still coming in.
People are coming in.
Came in on the
Apparently, planes also fly at night.
Exactly.
It's crazy. Sorry.
It's true. Some could have decided, I'm just going to come in for the exact thing, opening ceremony, do my thing and hit out. All right. So, the prefect you're talking about, ideally, if there was a prefect, there is none in international relations. But if there was to be a prefect, I would prefer that to be the African Union. That sits African countries and tells them, look here, we need to get our act together. This is our common position. Let's do this together. Let's be brothers, and all these things. But unfortunately, the African Union is curtailed or is challenged by the fact that the highest decision-making organ is the summit, the heads of states. That is an exclusive big boys, big girls club, and they do not want to do anything to rock the boat. They do not want to hold each other to account, because today if we condemn you, tomorrow you'll condemn me when I'm doing something in my own backyard. So I think that is where the weakness of the African Union has come in. If you look at the European Union, it's a supranational international organization. That means countries within the European Union have agreed to give up some of their rights to the European Union. So the European Union is actually the prefect. It tells countries in the European Union, you cannot do this. This is going against what we agreed. So that is the model. We tried to copy them, but we didn't fully copy that model. So if we can just give the African Union some more teeth, and I do not claim to have the solution to what those teeth should look like, but a little bit of more power to be able to rein in some of its rogue states or some of its misbehaving children on the continent, that is where we lack it. So that should have been our prefect, ideally. But in international relations, we are all sovereign. Everybody does whatever they want so long as they are following some modicum of international law. And nobody comes to ask you, why are you doing this? So we take advantage of that.
Giving power to the AU would, like you said, involve ceding. That's where
exactly ceding that
the rubber
right
will hit the road.
So we're talking about all botched elections. We'd be told, we don't recognize what you've done. That's a shambolic election. Repeat
Imagine
it.
that.
Exactly. Or we are kicking you out. So
or we're sanctioning you.
we're sanctioning you for this. So
I know.
So So largely due to lack of that, the African continent, we are a work in progress.
Tukubali tu. Ni kazi inaendelea.
Ni kazi inaendelea.
Jack, so as we see in the hall now, the pictures we're seeing, people have stood up. I think the heads of state and government are arriving into the hall for the commencement of this official session. We can just jump into there for a little bit and hear what's going on, and then we shall come back and say goodbye. Jackson?
Requesting that we clear the front so that we